I thought rescuing my daughter from her kidnapper was the end, until I discovered the chilling truth about who's really after us. I used to think I knew my wife. After 10 years of marriage, there's a kind of rhythm you fall into, routines, habits, familiar quirks. But lately, something's been off, and it all started about 3 weeks ago. It began with the phone calls. I'd wake up around midnight to find Emily gone from bed, her side cold. At first, I thought she might be having trouble sleeping. Stress from work, maybe. But then I'd hear her voice, low and urgent, coming from the hallway. I'd lie there, straining to hear, but the words were always muffled. One night, I decided to get up, just to see who she was talking to. As I crept closer, I could make out a few words. "You can't keep calling like this." "No, I'm not telling him." My heart pounded. I didn't confront her right away. I just quietly went back to bed, trying to make sense of what I'd heard. Was she hiding something from me? The next morning, I casually asked about her sleep. She just smiled, kissed my cheek, and said she'd been a bit restless lately. I didn't push it, but a pit of dread was already forming in my stomach. A few days later, it happened again. Midnight. Whispers. This time, I managed to catch a glimpse of her through the crack in the door. She was hunched over, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. "No, I can't just leave. You know why." I stepped back, careful not to make a sound. My mind raced. Was she having an affair? Planning to leave me? I couldn't believe it. Emily wasn't the type. But what else could it be? That weekend, I decided to check her phone while she was in the shower. I know it sounds wrong, but the suspicion was eating me alive. I scrolled through her recent calls, nothing out of the ordinary. Messages? Just the usual, family, work. But then I noticed something odd. A new app. It looked like a generic notes app, but when I opened it, it was password protected. Emily never used passwords on apps. That was a red flag. When she came out of the shower, I casually asked if she'd downloaded anything new lately. She just shrugged. "Nothing special." "What?" I shrugged back. "Just curious. Thought I saw something new on your phone." Her face went pale for a split second before she laughed it off. "Oh, just some work stuff." Boring, really. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was lying. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept glancing at her phone on the nightstand, that stupid little notes icon practically mocking me. The next night, I pretended to fall asleep early. Around midnight, I heard her sneak out of bed again. I waited a few minutes, then followed. This time, she was in the living room, pacing and whispering into her phone. I ducked behind the doorway, trying to make out what she was saying. "No, he doesn't know. I'm trying to keep it together, but it's getting harder. You promised this wouldn't happen." I shifted my weight, and the floorboard creaked. Emily snapped her head around, eyes wide. I quickly retreated to the bedroom, heart racing. A minute later, she came back to bed, slipping under the covers like nothing had happened. The next morning, I decided to test the waters. "Hey, Em, are you okay? You seemed a little distracted lately." She looked at me, something like guilt flickering in her eyes. "I'm fine. Just work stress. It's nothing." I couldn't help myself. "You sure? You've been on the phone late at night a lot lately." Her face froze, but she quickly recovered. "Just talking to Mom. She's been going through some stuff." I knew she was lying. Emily's mom lived 2 states away and rarely called. But I didn't push it. I needed more proof. That evening, I installed a monitoring app on her phone. It felt dirty, wrong, but I was desperate. The next night, I waited. Sure enough, at midnight, she slipped out of bed again. This time, I checked the app. Nothing. No calls. No messages. It didn't make sense. Frustrated, I got up to confront her, but as I stepped into the hallway, I heard something that made my blood run cold. It wasn't her voice anymore. It was a man's. Deep, muffled, but definitely male. I froze. My mind reeled. Who was she talking to? And why hadn't the app recorded the call? I leaned closer, and just as I caught a snippet of the conversation, "We'll have to make it look like an accident." The door creaked, and Emily whipped around. Our eyes met. She looked terrified. "What are you doing up?" she asked, forcing a smile. "Couldn't sleep," I replied, trying to sound casual. She quickly hung up and walked past me into the bedroom, muttering something about needing water. I stood there, heart pounding, wondering what the hell I'd just overheard. The following morning, I could barely focus on anything. My mind was consumed with questions. Who was that man? What accident were they planning? Was Emily involved in something dangerous or worse? Emily acted like nothing had happened, making coffee and humming softly to herself. I couldn't look at her the same way. Every smile, every casual touch felt like a lie. I knew I couldn't just confront her, not without solid evidence. I needed to be careful. So, I decided to keep playing along, pretending everything was normal. That night, I set up a small voice recorder in the living room, tucked behind the bookshelf. If she made another call, I'd finally get some answers. As midnight approached, I forced myself to fall asleep, or at least pretend to. Right on cue, Emily slipped out of bed, her phone in hand. I gave it a few minutes before creeping out to retrieve the recorder. When I pressed play, my heart raced. At first, just muffled shuffling and quiet breathing. Then, the sound of her phone dialing. A few rings, and then, "He's getting suspicious," Emily whispered. The man's voice replied, low and firm. "We're running out of time. You know what to do." There was a long pause. Then Emily said something that made my stomach twist into knots. "I'll do it tomorrow night. When he's asleep." I stopped breathing. My hands trembled as I replayed the line, hoping I'd misheard. "I'll do it tomorrow night. When he's asleep." She was planning something. Something involving me. The next day, I couldn't look her in the eye. My mind raced with possibilities. Was she planning to kill me? Was it some kind of twisted setup? I spent the day formulating a plan of my own. That evening, I told her I wasn't feeling well and would probably go to bed early. She just nodded, barely reacting. That was even more unsettling. No concern, no questions. Just a blank, distant look. I made sure to take the pills she gave me, at least, that's what she thought. I kept them under my tongue and spit them out once she wasn't looking. Then I lay down, pretending to sleep. Around midnight, I heard her moving around. My heart pounded in my chest as I kept my breathing slow and steady. I felt her standing by the bed, just watching me. A minute passed, then another. Finally, she moved away. I risked opening my eyes just a crack. I saw her walking out of the room, phone in hand. I slipped out of bed and followed her at a distance. She went into the garage. I peeked through the slightly open door. Emily was hunched over a duffel bag, pulling out tools. Rope, duct tape, and what looked like a large hunting knife. My blood ran cold. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. "Emily," I whispered, barely able to control my voice. She spun around, eyes wide. "What are you doing?" I demanded. For a second, her face looked almost relieved. Then she dropped the knife, covering her face with her hands, and started to sob. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know how to tell you." I stared at her, confusion mingling with fear. "Tell me what? What's going on?" She sank to the floor, still crying. "It's not what you think. Please, just let me explain." Emily sat on the cold garage floor, her hands trembling as she wiped away tears. I stayed by the door, ready to bolt if things took a darker turn. She finally looked up at me, eyes red and swollen. "It's not what you think," she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Then what is it? You're sneaking out at night, talking to some guy about making it look like an accident. Now you're hiding weapons in the garage? Emily, what the hell is going on?" She took a shaky breath. "That man on the phone, he's my brother." My jaw dropped. "Your brother? You don't have a brother." She looked down at her hands, almost ashamed. "I never told you about him because he's dangerous. His name is Kyle. We grew up together, but I haven't seen him in years. He's been in and out of prison. Drugs, theft, worse. I thought he was gone for good." My mind was spinning. Why didn't you tell me any of this before? Because I wanted to forget. He ruined my childhood. When I met you, I finally had something good in my life. I didn't want his darkness tainting it. I stayed silent, trying to process it all. But why now? Why are you talking to him again? She looked at me, eyes hollow. About a month ago, he showed up at my work. Said he was in trouble, that some people were after him. He begged me for help. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't just turn him away. That doesn't explain the late-night calls. Or why you're planning something behind my back. Emily hugged her knees to her chest. Kyle told me he needed money, a lot of it. And fast. When I said no, he threatened me. Said if I didn't help, he'd make sure our family would suffer. I thought he was bluffing, but then strange things started happening. What things? He sent me photos. Of our house. Of you. Of Claire. At the park. At the grocery store. I didn't know how to tell you. I was terrified. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. So you plan to, what? Take care of him yourself. Emily nodded slowly. He told me to meet him at an abandoned cabin tomorrow night with the money. I don't have it, but I figured, if I could at least scare him, make him back off, maybe he'd leave us alone. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. You were going to confront him alone? Emily, that's insane. He's dangerous. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't let him hurt you or Claire. I knelt beside her, taking her hands. We'll call the police. Let them handle it. She pulled away, shaking her head. No, you don't understand. He said if I go to the cops, he'll hurt Claire. He knows where my mom lives too. I'm trapped. My mind raced through the possibilities. I needed to protect my family, but I couldn't let Emily walk into a trap. All right, I said, forcing myself to sound calm. We'll go together. We'll figure out a way to keep him away from us, permanently. Emily looked at me, fear mingling with hope. Together. I nodded. No more secrets. We'll face this as a team. But as we sat there, a new thought crept into my mind. If Kyle was really that dangerous, how did he find Emily after all these years? Was he really just looking for money, or was there something darker at play? The next day felt like a blur. We tried to act normal for Claire's sake, but tension hung in the air like a thick fog. Emily was quieter than usual, flinching every time her phone buzzed. I knew we had to be smart about this. If Kyle was really capable of hurting our family, we couldn't afford any mistakes. By evening, we had a plan, or at least the rough outline of one. We'd meet Kyle at the cabin as planned, but I'd go with Emily, staying out of sight. If things got heated, I'd be there to back her up. We didn't dare call the police. Not yet. Not with Kyle's threats hanging over us. As we packed a duffel bag with the little cash we had, Emily hesitated. Maybe we should just run, she whispered. And live looking over our shoulders forever? I countered. We need to end this. At around 10 p.m., we loaded up the car and drove out to the cabin. The road was dark and winding, the trees casting eerie shadows that seemed to stretch like clawed hands. Emily kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting Kyle to jump out of the woods. When we arrived, the cabin looked even worse than I'd imagined, rotting wood, windows covered in grime. The place seemed abandoned, but I knew better. We parked a little ways down the road, and I hid in the bushes while Emily approached the door. My heart pounded as she knocked. A few seconds later, the door creaked open, and a man stepped out. He looked rough, unshaven, sunken eyes, a nasty scar across his cheek. Kyle, Emily whispered. He smirked. About time. Thought you'd chicken out. Emily handed him the bag. That's all we have. It's not enough, but He yanked the bag from her hands, rummaging through it with a sneer. This is a joke. I told you I needed 10 grand. Emily's voice wavered. I don't have that kind of money, Kyle. Please, just leave us alone. Kyle's face darkened. You think this is a game? You owe me. Family means sticking together. You can't just pretend I don't exist. Emily tried to reason with him. I didn't know where you were. You just vanished. Kyle scoffed. Yeah, after you ratted me out. I went away for 6 years because of you. I could barely breathe. Was he serious? Emily had never mentioned this. You broke into Mom's house. Emily shot back. I had to call the cops. You threatened to kill her. Kyle's eyes narrowed, and he moved closer. She deserved it. Always telling me I'd amount to nothing. Now look at me, nothing. While you got your nice house, perfect little life. You think I'm just gonna let that slide? I clenched my fists, resisting the urge to rush in. Emily held her ground, though I could see her trembling. I'm sorry for what happened. I didn't know what else to do. Kyle's mouth twisted into a cruel smile. You know what? Sorry isn't gonna cut it. You're gonna make it up to me. Or else. At that moment, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I quickly silenced it, but it was too late. Kyle's head whipped toward the noise, eyes narrowing. Who's there? My stomach dropped. I stayed absolutely still. But then Kyle's face changed. His sneer turned into something almost amused. You brought him, didn't you? Emily froze. I didn't. Kyle laughed. Man, you really are dumber than I thought. You think I didn't see his car down the road? Pathetic. Panic surged through me. He knew. He knew I was there the whole time. Kyle raised his voice, taunting. Come on out, tough guy. Let's see what kind of man hides in the bushes while his wife begs for mercy. My blood boiled. I stepped out, keeping my hands visible. Leave her alone. Kyle looked me up and down, unimpressed. So, this is the hero. I gotta say, you're a bit of a letdown. I didn't take the bait. We don't want trouble. Just take the money and go. Kyle grinned. You think I'm just after money? Nah, I'm after payback. And I think I just found the perfect way to get it. Emily's eyes widened, and I stepped closer, ready to shield her. What are you talking about? I demanded. Kyle leaned against the doorframe, smirking. Oh, you'll see. You wanted to play the hero? Good. You're about to see what real family loyalty looks like. A chill went down my spine. Something was wrong. Horribly wrong. Then, from behind the cabin, another figure emerged, a man I'd never seen before, holding a phone. He nodded at Kyle. It's done. The message is sent. Kyle's grin widened. Perfect. Your little girl's gonna be famous. My stomach dropped. What the hell did you do? Kyle just laughed, stepping back inside. Hope you like surprises. You'll be seeing mine soon enough. He slammed the door, and I rushed to Emily, who was already dialing her phone. What did you mean? What message? Emily's hand shook as she tried to call Claire's babysitter. No answer. We bolted to the car, speeding back home, dread knotting in my stomach. I kept glancing at Emily, both of us silent, fear etched into her face. What had Kyle done? And then my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. It was a video file. With trembling fingers, I opened it. The screen filled with shaky footage of our living room. Claire sitting on the floor, watching TV. And then, someone stepped into the frame. A man, wearing a mask. The video cut off, and another text came through. If you want her back, you'll follow my instructions. No cops. No games. Or else. Emily broke down, sobbing. And all I could think was, how did I let this happen? We drove like maniacs back to the house, fear gripping every nerve in my body. Emily was on the verge of a breakdown, clutching the phone like it was a lifeline. I couldn't get the image of Claire, our little girl, out of my head. By the time we reached the driveway, I could barely breathe. I leapt out of the car, sprinting to the front door, shouting Claire's name. Silence. The living room was exactly as the video had shown, Claire's toys scattered on the floor, her favorite blanket draped over the couch. But no Claire. No babysitter. Emily followed behind me, frantic. Lindsay. Claire. Where are you? No response. I checked the kitchen, the hallway, the bedrooms. Nothing. Emily was dialing Lindsay's number over and over, her voice breaking. It just keeps ringing. Oh God, what if it... I grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at me. We'll find her. We have to stay calm. Think. What did Kyle mean by no games? He must want something. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. Glad you made it home. Nice and safe. You really shouldn't have dragged Emily into this. Now, you're going to listen very carefully, or your little girl won't be coming home. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to reply. Please, don't hurt her. We'll do whatever you want. The reply came instantly. Good. First, you're going to stop playing detective. No more looking for me. No cops. No neighbors. You follow my instructions to the letter, or Claire disappears for good. Emily read the text over my shoulder, and I could feel her panic rising. What does he want? Money? Revenge? She whispered. Another message popped up. You've got 1 hour to get to the old sawmill by the river. Come alone. If I see Emily, or anyone else, the deal's off. I showed the message to Emily. I have to go, I said, barely holding it together. Emily shook her head, desperate. No. It's a trap. He's using Claire to get to you. You can't just walk into this alone. What choice do we have? I snapped. If we don't follow his orders, he'll hurt her. Emily looked like she was about to collapse. I'll call Jake. Maybe he can help. No. He said no one else. We can't risk it. She hesitated, then nodded, wiping her tears. Just be careful. Promise me you'll bring her back. I kissed her forehead. I will. The drive to the sawmill was a blur. My mind raced through every possible scenario. Would Kyle even show up? Or was this just a diversion while he took Claire somewhere else? I couldn't think straight. All I knew was that I had to face him. When I pulled up to the sawmill, the place looked like a nightmare. broken windows, rusted equipment, shadows that seemed to stretch unnaturally in the moonlight. I scanned the area, hoping to see any sign of Claire. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed. Another text. Inside. Alone. I took a deep breath, pushed the car door open, and stepped into the darkness. The old wooden beams creaked underfoot. My heart pounded so loud I was sure Kyle could hear it. Claire. I called out, my voice echoing. Nothing. Then I saw a dim light at the far end of the building. I moved toward it cautiously, trying not to make noise. As I got closer, I could make out two figures, Kyle and another man, both facing away from me. Kyle's voice cut through the silence. You think you can just waltz in here and make demands? The other guy grunted. Your plan better work, Kyle. I'm not taking the fall for this. I froze, straining to hear more. Kyle scoffed. Relax. Once we've got the money, we'll be long gone. The idiot doesn't even know what's really going on. I clenched my fists. Money? This was more than just revenge. It was a setup. Suddenly, Kyle spun around, spotting me. Well, look who finally decided to join the party. I stepped closer, trying to keep my voice steady. Where's Claire? Kyle smirked. Safe. For now. But that depends on you. The other guy shifted uneasily. Let's just get this over with, Kyle. Kyle ignored him, walking closer to me. You've been a real pain. You know that? All I wanted was a little family support. But no, you had to make it difficult. Now, here we are. What do you want? I demanded. Kyle laughed. What do I want? Justice. Compensation for the years I rotted in prison because of her lies. And you, her little knight in shining armor, get to pay the price. He motioned to the other guy, who pulled out a phone and dialed. A few seconds later, a voice crackled through the speaker. She's here, the man said. Relief washed over me. Claire was alive. But Kyle wasn't done. You're going to transfer everything you've got into an account I set up. If you try anything stupid, your daughter disappears for good. Understand? I nodded slowly, desperately trying to buy time. What guarantee do I have that you'll let her go? Kyle's eyes gleamed with malice. You don't. But if you don't pay up, you'll never see her again. Your call. I felt my phone buzz. Emily was calling. I ignored it, focusing on Kyle. I'll do it. Just let me see Claire first. Kyle glanced at his partner, then back at me. Fine. But any funny business and I end this. He gestured to the far corner of the room. I strained to see, and there, huddled and tied to a chair, was Claire. My heart nearly stopped. Claire. I cried out. She looked up, her eyes puffy from crying, but alive. Kyle's partner shoved me forward. No tricks. Start the transfer. I glanced at Claire, then back at Kyle. My mind was racing. I needed a plan, and fast. Because in that moment, I realized something. Kyle was too confident. Too sure I'd cave. Which meant he hadn't planned for one crucial factor. Emily. And I was willing to bet she was one step ahead of him.